Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Core Racing Network and welcome to New England, the Magic Mile, and the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. This is what my co-commentator maybe likes to dub the largest short track on the circuit on the calendar here. 1 mile, and it is flat. It is tough. It is something that the drivers a lot of times either love or hate. But we're gonna see how they handle it here tonight. Second race here in the playoffs for the Core Xfinity. Core Xfinity Series presented by Elwood Designs, and it's a track that I don't know, for the longest time I didn't like, but I always seem to get good results here. So it's starting to grow on me. It's starting to come around, and I'm starting to really enjoy it here. But again, it's definitely a love and hate for a lot of these drivers. But we're going to see how these drivers do here for the playoffs. This is a big race. Again, these drivers only have one drop race. A lot of them may be using it from last week at Indianapolis. Corlham, we're joined in the booth by Jimmy Cover. Jimmy, we're here at, it's a 1 mile track. It's not a short track, but man, it can be tough out here in New Hampshire.
You like this track? I don't know if we can be friends, man. I'm serious. No, this track is it's that 1 mile. It's in that gray area being short, but what makes it, I think, awful for drivers like myself is there's no banking or hardly any banking in the corners. So it's really flat. The car pushes out. So the car tends, actually went out there and did some laps tonight. These drivers are going to have to bring that car down in and be careful trying to, run these lines, and not getting that rear end around too quickly because you got to play with the throttle a little bit. I noticed I'm not very good at it, so I was able to get down about a second off the leader, but that's about as close as I could get with my skill level here. So running 31s instead of 30s, I call that a win for me since I don't like these so-called short flat tracks. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one here tonight. Obviously, drivers having a little bit of issues last week, not wanting to use maybe their drop race. So we're going to see a lot of things going on. Obviously, heated playoff battles as always. So everybody trying to get as many points as possible to win their respective division championships and even that overall championship. So looking forward to seeing how these drivers take on New Hampshire here tonight.
And it looks like we got about 26 drivers in attendance for tonight's race. So going to be a fun one to see how everybody handles it out here. But you talked about the playoff standings. Obviously, really only one person is sitting pretty right now, and that is the driver of the number 7, Clayton Montgomery, as he claimed last week's victory at Indy. And locks himself into the playoffs, providing he just runs 2 more races here in this playoff round, and he's already here in attendance tonight. So that leaves just 2 more spots available in the Platinum Division. But you see across the board there, real tight there in between Scoczen and Bronson Stafford in the gold. A little bit, a nice little gap there in the silver, as it certainly got shaken up there. Blake Erickson not having a good day at Indy, and neither did Jon Nobinger. And then over in the bronze, very close there as well. So I think after tonight we'll get maybe a little bit clearer picture. But I mean, that those drop races, or the drop race I should say, is really gonna be interesting how that plays out. Looks like our qualifying is all done. We got our 26 car field here tonight. Jimmy, why don't you give us that rundown?
Yeah, quick rundown of tonight's qualifying order, and it's going to be Shayne Therrien on the pole here tonight, with Niiko Garcia joining him, and then we have Alan Elwood and JP Phelps taking on row number 2, Tyler Scoczen and Bronson Stafford for row number 3, Jack Stoneman and Kevin Foster for row number 4, Joe Sullivan and Jon Nobinger on row number 5, Joey Cruz and AJ Roderick in row number 6, Josh Van Westen and Jeff Ryan there on row number 7. Row number 8 is going to be Jon Crain, Tater Bowman, and row number 9, Dan Phelps with Tyler Bramble. Row number 10 is going to be Joseph Thomas with Matt Crockett. And then we will have Jeremy Gainey and James Scioly back there on row number 11. Row number 12, Clayton Montgomery, last week's winner, with Robert Kenny. And Louis Orduna with Tony Bramble at the back of the pack. So it's going to be an interesting one here. You can see a few drivers not putting times in, whether it's for previous penalties or whatnot, or just feel better starting from the back. It's going to be an interesting one here. We didn't talk about it yet, but I'm going to talk about it right now, and that's pit entry these drivers go green for an extended period of time and have to pit under green, you gotta be careful when you come in, because obviously with these short flat tracks, accidents can happen and you can find yourself a lap or two down, coming into this pit scroll.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that big of a transition. I know a lot of tracks that it can be tough to get into pit road because of the transition you see. I mean, obviously you're coming down from basically no banking whatsoever down onto the flat pit road, but you got to get it woed down and you got to get it down to its pit road speed right away. You see that cone coming up right at the entrance. There's not really not much room to get it slowed down, but it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out. I mean, we've seen this race go green to checkered. We've seen this race get a little bit lopsided with cautions. It all depends on how the car is handling, what the track temperature looks like. Yeah, there's a lot of different factors into the race here tonight, but looks like we are getting ready to get this thing underway here in Loudon, New Hampshire, and we'll take it down to the track here. And yeah, just want to take a look. Yeah, it is anywhere from 2 to 7 degrees of banking, so literally nothing. I mean, you might as well just say nothing at that point. There's really nothing that you can kind of work with, but we'll see what these drivers do here. I mean, we've heard that the low line tonight may be where you want to be, and extremely low, even using the apron to get your way around here. A lot of times we've seen the kind of like the mid to high line be the preferred line, so I don't know. We're about to all find out here, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight. Hit that like, subscribe, get you in touch with everything this Therrien has to offer, and get you ready for tonight's green flag as the cars will roll out of turn number 4. It is in the hands of Barney to get this thing underway, and we are racing here at New Hampshire.
And away they go past Barney as the green flag flies down to turn number 1. Looks like Shayne Therrien getting the edge out and using that low line talked about here early. Obviously that high side can work. Being down that inside, in order to get down there, you have to let that car roll and rotate.
Oh, we got an incident towards the back already.
Yellow flag is out.
That would be coming out of turn
possibly
number 4.
Jeremy Gainey might have got loose out of the corner on the top. Yep, loose on the top there and came down and took out James Scioly here right at the beginning of the race.
No tough break there for James Scioly starting towards the back of the pack. And I guess the one thing here, I guess if you look right there in front of Gainey there, it looked like the 10 started to wiggle just maybe a little bit. So maybe check up and get on the gas. I don't know. But Lot loses it, comes right down in front of Scioly, nowhere to go. They wave high five each other as Scioly goes by, maybe not waving, and then they continue going.
Wait, but not all the fingers were up there for some reason.
I think some of the fingers are broken.
Well, we'll take a look at
lap 1.
I mean, certainly some damage on the front right there for Scioly. It doesn't look like it's anything that can't be kind of banged out there by the crew. So we'll see. I mean, this track, you certainly want to try and keep the fenders on as much as possible and keep them pointed in the right direction, but it's not maybe as aero dependent as some of the other tracks we get to. But you see, obviously, Scioly coming down here, going to get that thing worked on. You see Jeremy Gainey doesn't look like he has too much damage really to the 45 at all, but it looks like Scioly, he decided to take a fast repair already. That could be a very, very brave decision here for the 70. That car looks pretty clean, Jimmy. I think he went ahead and used that fast repair. Or actually, no, never mind. It is a little bit wrinkly there yet, so maybe just coming in and topping off, or maybe just seeing how much damage he had. But I think we talked about the pit entry, but you see it right there coming out of pit lane. That's the trouble right there. Coming into pit lane, it can be tough, but I mean, it's basically a bike path coming out there around the corner. There's no room at all for error. I mean, you can't forget going too wide. You can barely go one wide around that thing, so it can certainly produce some penalties here tonight by doing that right there. But it looks like Scioly going to come back into pit lane now. Maybe just want to stop in there the first time to see how much damage was there and decide if he wanted to get it done or not. And now we'll see if he decides to take any fast repair. Indeed, it looked like that thing popped out. So that was a very, very quick pit crew, or that was a faster crew used already.
Yeah, I mean, unless it was like the final second of the repair or something like that. But they're bunched up too wide, and so Scioly able to get those repairs done. It looks like he should catch up almost to the back of the field, and it might play out to his benefit, having a little bit of a gap. He'll find himself at full throttle as he looks like he's going to catch before they start. So, unfortunately, sometimes when you come out of the pits and you're trying to catch up, they go, and you're just already full throttle and got a whole lot of steam.
Green flag, green
just by a little bit of luck, you're able to make a pass or two. So I don't think Scioly way back there too long, but Niiko Garcia going to lead this thing out with a great start there on the outside. He's going to make things work here, as it looks like Elwood using that very bottom line like we talked about earlier. So just obviously the drivers got to pay attention to who's down there and make sure you use that call. But we get down in these corners, and Carl, when I'm driving here, I really want it, I'm off the gas so long, it just seems wrong going to the middle of the corner.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you really need to understand how to roll the car, and we don't mean over on its lid. We're talking about rolling through the middle of the corners, and you're hard on the brakes getting into these corners to try and get it to turn in, but then you have to be off the throttle for so long. I mean, basically, you're braking for a third of the corner, you're kind of letting the car roll for a third of the corner, then you finally, as you're almost damn near out of the corner, you can finally get back on the gas, and even then you can have to slowly work it on there, because the back end is going to want to step loose. You're coming out of these corners.
JP Phelps going around.
Caution, yellow flag.
Spawned right in the middle of the field here. Don't like too much damage by anybody. Take a look and see.
Yeah, Stafford did a bump, he said.
Oh yeah, you see him shoot up there and right into the side of the 20. It just bounced straight up in front of him. You got Skoczen right behind, gets into the back there. Stoneman getting it into the 55 there as well. And it looked like JP may have been able to save it there, but that extra little bump there from the 55 is going to send him around. But a lot of damage to the back end of the 55 and a lot of damage to the front end of that 25. Looks like Foster in the 8 may have gotten away from that one pretty cleanly. The 20 there, definitely a little damage on the back end, but going to bring out another caution here. Just, again, you want to try and get in these corners. You want to try and get these passes done, but a little bobble like that, it's going to be tight. It's going to bounce it right up the track there, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, the track's not perfect, obviously. Being laser scanned, you're going to see and feel every single bump on the road here. iRacing has done a fantastic job as far as copying or getting a realistic copy of each and every track. And that's one thing that a lot of drivers like about iRacing is how realistic the tracks are. I do know, just kind of for instance, kind of near Five Flags Speedway, and so I was out there, and I go to see the local boys driving, and they, you see the corners and where the stands are at, and it's like pinpoint accurate, and almost like even with the same car, you're running almost the same time. So it's really kind of nice to see that iRacing has really gotten that down to a science. And obviously, as technology comes out, they're working on new things. There was talks of their own graphics engine and stuff like that kind of bring to life. But to be all honest, Carl, as old as this simulator is, it still has some of the better graphics out there. And sometimes if you're not paying attention, it looks real anyway. So, and when you're in a car, you want the sim to perform. I know a lot of drivers like being fancy and like all the bells and whistles. Heck, I'm one of them. I got all kinds of gadgets and toys, but they want to. I think their main concern is a stable connection to the servers, and obviously the performance. So as long as iRacing keeps going on that end, that the graphics will come eventually. Just little things, I think, like clouds, and I don't know about you, but I'm never staring at the clouds unless I'm good. We're into them flying off the track somewhere.
Well, I guess, I mean, maybe if you're running a GT race and you're worried about the dark clouds coming in, that's about the only time I think I even notice the clouds out there. But certainly some tracks you notice the sun, and there's times where you don't want to notice the sun. We talked about Sebring and Sunset Corner there. You kind of want to turn the sun off, basically. But getting ready to go back green here. This is the second time in a row now. Our leader has chosen the outside line for the restart. This time it's going to be Shayne Therrien at the front. He's back on the loud pedal, and we are racing again here at New Hampshire. Good restart as the 88 of Niiko Garcia briefly jumps behind him, but you see him kind of switching lines. You see that on that last run. Therrien was down there on the apron trying to make that work. Garcia was kind of the second lane. They switch it up here a little bit on this run, but we got another one sliding through there, and looked like big impact there for Tyler Scoczen. No caution coming out on this one. He's going to have to limp that thing back to pit road, and we get a quick fast repair get back out there. Did not see exactly what started that thing. We'll try and take a look here real quick. It was a bit of a jumble mess. Up in front of me, you see the 8 involved there, the 85 involved, and then Stafford getting involved there again. Stafford's hood flies off on that one. So not a good start. And it looks like
a lot of different driving styles out here tonight. Obviously, you get the car so slow, and I talked about how long you're off the throttle, and when you're listening to your engine, it feels so bogged down. Some drivers tend to downshift, looking for a little better exit out of the corner, and it sounded like I'm over listening the driver's radio, and it sounded like maybe a slight misshift causing that one. But so it's just all kinds of driver styles out here right now. But right now, it is still Shayne Therrien out front, Niiko Garcia and Elwood all playing nice together here. Jon Nobinger finds himself up front, so either he has found that fast line and it's working for him, as we've seen that 44 have a lot of issues. Last week was not his race, but seems to be doing okay here tonight. So looking good for the 44 of Jon Nobinger. Joey Cruz up there tonight as well, up there 6 spots in the 28, so doing a fantastic job. Another driver last week with all kinds of problems. Yeah, I mean, there's just a tale of two stories with a lot of drivers. Obviously, you see some, obviously, our platinum drivers up front at the moment, but definitely at the last race, we're didn't have the chance to be there. So we'll see how they can finish out here tonight, see if they can concrete their way into the rest of the playoffs here as they chase Montgomery. But it looks like Montgomery didn't even take the field.
Now, yeah, I was going to say Shayne Therrien at the point right now, but Clayton Montgomery has not taken a lap yet. And again, he needs to run at least 3 races in the playoff round to be eligible for that win and end situation. So maybe he signed into the race here in hopes that he can get out there at some point here tonight, and maybe just click off a lap, and he literally just needs to get out there and run a lap for the race to count as being in attendance. But right now, they're all looking up at the 09 of Shayne Therrien out front. Got Niiko Garcia behind him alongside of Alan Elwood. But yeah, I mean, some good starts here and a bit of an eclectic top 10 here. Like you said, you got silver driver Jon Nobinger up there, certainly looking for a bounce back after last week. Joey Cruz up there in 5th. Look a little bit further back in the top 10, you got Jeff Ryan back here in the 34, up in the top 10, up 7 spots. Joe Sullivan just missing out on the playoffs. He's up here in the top 10. AJ Roderick and Matt Crockett doing some battling here. You seen a little bit after the incident with Skoczen, I took a look at Alan Elwood, because it said Alan Elwood went in the pits. That's how far down on the apron he was. It actually registered that he went into pit lane. He was actually down below the line there at pit entry, but didn't register as actually entering pit road. Luckily for him that he didn't get a penalty for that one. Certainly very close, but good restart here. Looks like everything is starting to finally shake out here. Battle towards the back here. Taylor Bowman making the pass on Jeremy Gainey. But for the most part, I think everything maybe settled down here. A little bit of battle towards the front here. James Scioly to the inside of Joey Cruz, as Scioly, after the first incident got that car cleaned up, and he had some other plans. He's like, you know what, I am not going to wait around this time. I'm going right to the front, already in the top 5.
Yeah, James Scioly, sitting right around, I think it's like 6,500. Yeah, over 6,500 iRacing. He's been around. I'm sure he has plenty of time and experience on some short tracks. You don't get an iRating like that by doing super speedways every week. So definitely you're going to see, I think, James Scioly up towards the front, probably pushing for the possible win here tonight. So somebody to keep an eye on. Obviously took that fast repair, needs to keep that vehicle out of trouble as well. It looks like another pass there by Taylor Bowman on Kevin Foster as they climb up and start catching the back of Dan Phelps.
And now the field, you see him starting to stretch out there on the track map. Those loose skills starting to spread out here a little bit. Shayne Therrien in the lead, but not by much, only about a half a second back to his teammates. Elwood, then Niiko Garcia in third. Jon Nobinger still holding on to 4th place. Second behind him is James Scioly for the top 5. Then you got Joey Cruz, Jeff Ryan, Joe Sullivan, AJ Roderick, and Matt Crockett for the top 10. Once again, want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight. Man, it's amazing. There's so many times that, again, we've seen the middle and the high line be the preferred line here in New Hampshire. Complete opposite here tonight. I don't think I've ever seen this track be driven that much on the apron.
Obviously one guy tries it out and like, hey, it's the shortest distance around the track. We'll see if it works to go down there to get an awesome time and speed. And, obviously teammates are going to share just a little bit. And if not, people are going to notice over time. But looks like the 9 pushed out there, giving the opportunity for Elwood to take a peek down to the inside. And 9 Shayne Therrien are going to have to back off as they work their way down the back stretch here. Down into turn number 3, Elwood looking to that lower line, and it's just a lot of patience to let that car rotate, and hopefully it sticks here and those tires aren't beat up too much. But you can see the 56 running a very extreme line. Probably telling him he's, these guys have to be a little careful or they'll get an unsafe pit entry, and next thing you know, we'll have black flags.
Side by side here with Jeff Ryan as the battle for 7th place. And Joe Sullivan right there behind him, trying to get up there in the mix. We'll take a look back at the front, and it's still Shayne Therrien at the point, but Elwood looking to get up there and looking to get himself locked in to the playoffs. I mean, obviously, to the championship race. Coming into tonight, certainly not exactly in a terrible position. Came into the playoff round here with a good amount of bonus points from the wins in the regular season, but yeah, it's gotten a little bit closer as he is now only 17 points above the cut line, especially with Clayton Montgomery already claiming one of those spots. But did get word that that Clayton Montgomery having some issues here tonight and didn't want to ruin someone's race. He was having some connection issues and didn't want to be a blinker out there, so gonna see if he decides to come out here and run one lap.
I don't like this track either. You can just tell me straight up, I don't like the track. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, it's tough right there. I mean, obviously you don't like to hear that stuff as far as drivers having issues where they can't get out here and participate, especially being so close to a battle for the championship. But I mean, he does have that win. He does have a few more races. Unfortunately, not able to get out here and at least attempt to see if he can get a decent finish and having to use this as a drop race. So we'll see Clayton Montgomery in the upcoming races. I am sure. It looks like James Scioly putting the pressure on Jon Nobinger right now and getting down the inside. So right now it's a battle, but at inside the drivers aren't. I mean, they can get alongside, and depending on the outside driver, whether they can make that happen. You can see right there using that extreme low line, but you can see the 44 come right up on the 70, slowed up the 44, and able basically so Jon could get that crossover. So it just going down, and you can get down in that corner so low. but then you shift out just like that. You're just sitting there as almost Nobinger and Scioly got together.
A little shot there to the back.
Yeah.
Scioly tried to pull the crossover. John blocked it, but now they'll head into turn number 1. Scioly is going to take that pass. And this is kind of those situations where you're just going to pull in a Formula 1 turn. This guy is not your race. And for Nobinger, of course, he'd love to be up there in 4th place, but running against Scioly is not his race. He's got to worry about the other Supra drivers, which next closest one right now is all the way back in 12th. But we got a battle for the lead, side by side at the line. It's still Shayne Therrien, but only 0.05 of a second at the line. And now the 5 sends it into turn number 1. Therrien still sticks to that outside, gets a good run out of the corner. Going to still be side by side down the backstretch. Therrien, teammates or not, is not going to just lay over and lets the 5 take the lead. We're on lap number 30 here, Jimmy. We had a few guys coming into the pits on the first caution there. We got to be getting close to another round of pit stops here, and possibly some green flag pit stops. I know one person that's not going to be looking forward to that, but he is doing good right now, up in 7th place, and that's AJ Roderick. Back to the battle for the lead. Now the 5 trying to sneak to the high side. Big old wiggle out of turn number 2.
Yeah, obviously they got a lot of choices to make. When to come in.
Easy for you to say.
Whether they need new tires, they should take tires or not. And obviously, hopefully, they don't have to endure, going a lap down by somebody that stayed out. And next thing you know, they find themselves a lap down and battling for that spot. But you can see the 5 and a 9 battling right here just a little bit. Maybe a little bump there coming out of turn number 2, I believe it was. Backstretch. So it's a little bump and go there by the 5 to the 9, but 5 riding that line, that middle high line, and it's actually working out for him, and he's able to maintain that battle there with Alan Elwood. So Shayne Therrien doing a fantastic job using the
classic
so-called
as I would call it,
classic fast line that they were talking about during practice. But and it takes a lot of car and time to get down in there. You can see some of the drivers, obviously some of the more experienced drivers, getting down there and being able to slow that thing down and rotate it. But you can see how it pushes out. It's almost like a diamond, a diamond in the corner, but very, very low.
Therrien just getting enough run every time out of the top line that he is still leading in these laps out here. But now drifts up a bit high there. Not sure if he's going to get a good enough run, but why not get another good run out of turn number 2. Still going to be side by side down the backstretch. Slight edge this time to Elwood. We'll see if he sends it into the corner. Yeah, he dives it in there deep this time. A little bit of a slide job here at New Hampshire. He's going to take over the lead of this race. The 5 to the front. Do have a car in the pits. Kevin Foster, typically a driver that goes deep into the runs, is going to be one of the first ones into pit lane as he's in here on lap number 35. See if there's any other takers. It's got to be getting close to that time. I don't feel like they can make it all the way to the halfway point. I don't think they're going to be able to make it to 43 laps. I think it's going to be pretty far of a stretch there. We've seen crazier things, so I'm not going to say it can't happen. Who knows? But I feel like in these next 2 or 3 laps, we should see a pretty big elo from the track.
Yeah, I think it's getting close to that time, and obviously, with about 50 laps remaining, 49 laps, maybe, I don't know if the cars have it in them to, just do a one-stop, so I think they might be a little short as far as being able to just stop one more time. That's a long time to be out there, obviously, on some tires. They should be able to do it, obviously, if they're running full tanks, and that's some of the leagues that do run full tank races with one, long enough of a race where they have to take fuel. They impress me, because a lot of times you see a lot of leagues, they'll run like half tanks or whatever, and you can't accelerate the tire wear. But these drivers that run those full tanks, man, and just the whole time, if you think tires are bad after a half a tank, try a full tank. And been in the league like that for a season, and it was difficult. And by the time I hit 50% of my fuel, I was begging for a caution to come out in order to get some new tires.
Battles throughout the field. Right now, this battle for 13th, 14th and 15th between Bramble, Crockett, and I was right, Bramble and Crockett. This is actually JP Phelps right in the middle of them. He is in the lucky dog position right now. First car 1 lap down. Leaders are starting to catch up to some more traffic here. You see Bronson Stafford missing that hood on the front. I wonder if he had to take a faster car in that first incident and now is trying to limp this thing around here and trying to get the best that he can. But you take a look at the gap from first to second, it's barely under screen anymore. It's a new second place driver as well, as Scioly makes light work of both Garcia and Therrien. As Therrien really starting to drop back here. Not sure if he used up his tires battling with Elwood, but Elwood has checked out at the front about 2 seconds from everyone else. And Jimmy Brett got 40 here. I know he had a couple cautions to start with. Maybe these guys can indeed make this on a one-stop, and maybe that's where you're seeing some cars getting a little bit faster right now. They know they're in their window that they can kind of run hard all the way up to this pit stop, because we're only a few laps away from the halfway point already, and it's clicking by. And we said it before. We've seen this thing go green and checkered. We've seen this thing have, I think, 13 cautions one time. But it's a couple little blips on the radar in the first couple laps, but it's been leading green ever since.
I mean, I've just cursed this track to don't race on it again because I just don't have any luck on it. But it's definitely interesting to see the drivers out here. It is a lot of patience, and obviously skill and knowing how the car feels and when the tires start going away, when they're hot. As you're burning them up, tires are such a big part of ovals, and managing them is probably the hardest thing about going around just left. Obviously you need to know how the other drivers are running. You need to take your shot when you can, but you got to be careful. I mean, there's all kinds. Your mind's going crazy. But the biggest thing I think that has to deal with the ability to do those things is your tire wear. If your tire wear is good, then
Speaking of tire wear, that's going to wear the tires and get him a little angry. We do have our first pit stop from the front, and we got a couple coming into the pits here. Looks like Niiko Garcia in the pit lane, Joey Cruz, Jeff Ryan, Joe Sullivan, all coming into pit lane this time by. So we're at that point now. We're at the midway point of this race. Alan Elwood leads it here, but not by much. James Scioly from the back now to the front is reeling in his teammate. It looks like they're both coming in this time by. In is the 5 and the 70. Looks like Orduna in there. You got Therrien coming in behind them. And Nobinger in here as well. This is definitely getting pretty busy here on pit road. This is where you got to pay attention. You see right there, like Jeff Ryan coming out of his pits, right where the 5 needs to turn in. The man's still out there, and now in the lead. I'll be hoping for that caution as well, so he doesn't have to make it under green flag pit stops. But AJ Roderick in the lead here in the gold division, and here in the race, we'll see if he decides to come down this time by. Now he's going to stick it out for another lap. Jack Stolman now in second. Robert Kenny, haven't talked about him yet tonight. He is up there in the third. Van Westen and Bramble for your top 5, but a lot of drivers still need to make their first pit stops.
Yeah, Robert running that extremely low line, so maybe he was able to get a few more laps out there and trying to catch that caution. I see one driver misses pit stop. There's you hear those mistakes like too many pit stalls. They go by really quick. Flags blend in. On the spotter. You're trying to. Especially the first pit stop is always the roughest. I remember one time it was a T3 race, multi-class endurance, and we didn't qualify very well, and so we were towards the back. But it was literally the last box as you entered the pits. So, yeah, when you come in hot, you just kind of drive right by it. So there's nothing you can do but just suck it up, do your drive-through, and come back in and do it again. So it's, I wish there was a way. I think that's the only part. You don't have a way to say, it should maybe, pit box number whatever, and so that there's 60 boxes, and if you're 60, you're the first one in. So It'd be nice to
Yellow flag is
some
out.
sort of heads up, because if in real life, obviously in real life, when you even know where your pit box is,
We
not
got
just
an issue here. Joe Thomas has blown up here. We'll see
Roderick. Oh my goodness.
what might have happened. And I was just about to say the top 5 pit on lap number 8, so they had a little bit extra fuel to run this thing out. And oh boy, AJ Roderick getting the benefit of this. We'll try and see what happened here to Joe Thomas. Slides it off the turn, and that is not a fun feeling right there. Engine blows immediately. Luckily, nobody else involved in this one, but that is a big hurt piece right there for the bronze playoff driver in the 218. As luckily, I guess it was right by pit lane. He can come in there if he's got a fast repair yet. An engine will be nice and clean and come right back out there. But that was a hard impact there. Let's take a look at that one more time if it will.
Nothing like just watching a replay and hear it come bang when the motor blows up.
Yeah, that was an abrupt stop right there for the 218. But man, how about AJ Roderick, Jack Stoneman, Josh Van West, Tyler Bramble, Tanner Bowman, all getting a beautiful benefit from that one right there, as they'll get a pit stop now under the caution, exactly the way AJ Roderick drew it up. And now we'll see these drivers certainly get mixed up here quite a bit. You're gonna have some newer tires on those guys coming in this time. Looks like Shayne Therrien did come in as well, but they see there was quite a few drivers that were either one lap down or kind of right around that point. Now you got a lot of drivers that will be taking that wave around, since all the leaders came into the pits.
Everybody in front of Elwood should get their drive-by.
Yeah, they'll get their wave around here, and it looks like the 55 of Tyler Skoczen will end up being back on the lead lap now as well. I think he still needs to he still needs to make a pit stop, but he kind of needs to do this right here. I mean, he made his last pit stop on lap 11, so he's going to need a quick caution for this thing to play out for him. But he's got a chance to get back up the lead lap. I think he's got to take the chance and hope that something happens in his favor here, because it's hard enough trying to fight to be that lucky dog when you have a chance to get that lap back. It sucks if it doesn't work out for you, but sometimes you just got to take that chance.
Yeah, definitely need to take the chance. I mean, the opportunity's there, and you gotta let them cards fall, the way they need to in order to find yourself in a situation, to have a good finish for the race. Try it. Take that bad incident, unlucky incident, and then go ahead and make it a positive evening. So, but you see that Stafford down in the pits gets his hood back and getting ready to go back. So he's exiting the pits now.
And we're about to take the green flag here.
Green flag.
So he's going to miss the green flag, as we are back to racing here. Alan Elwood back on the loud pedal. He leads him down into turn number 1. Scioly, Garcia, Stoneman, and Therrien for your top 5. As we got a couple of drivers, looks like Stoneman and Therrien were able to make a pit stop under that last caution there. AJ Roderick back in 8th position right now, as it looks like, even though we had a yellow flag pit stop, I see a pretty long time there, Jimmy. We maybe have a pit penalty for AJ Roderick.
Yeah, just obviously had I don't know if he was speeding or whatever, but he ended up getting a hold. So Stafford will be doing that. Oh, Clayton Montgomery getting the 7 out rolling, get a couple laps in. Definitely maybe not the best night he wanted, but a couple laps along in there and getting that official. So officially, almost last, but not last. So
it's
there for
the position doesn't matter for him. He just needs to click that lap in there to keep that win and in alive, and he does just that. Looks like Tyler Skoczen maybe having some issues here, as he is back into the pits. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is the scheduled pit stop for Skoczen. He stayed out there to get that lap back, hoping that a caution came out. Unfortunately, he's got to come into pit lane right now, so he's probably going to go back down a lap. But we'll be back out there with fresh tires in hopes to run down these guys and maybe get back into the lucky dog position. But right now, it is Alan Elwood at the front Scioly, Stoneman, Therrien, Garcia for your top 5. Then you got Roderick, Van Westen, Bramble, Bowman, and Nobinger.
There's a lot of drivers, obviously, some drivers being able to take advantage of that later caution and where they were able to stay out. Some of the drivers not making out on that would be Cruz and Phelps and Crain. Skoczen ended up having to go back in a pit, so back a lap down. Thomas, Orduna, Stafford, Phelps, obviously a few laps down. Maybe struggling with the flat short track or flat oval, whatever you want to call it. But it's definitely a drive for it's not over yet. We're at lap 55 of 85. It's Elwood and Scioly out front, followed by Stoneman, Therrien, Garcia for your top 5. Roderick and Garcia still battling Van Westen, Bramble, Bowman, and Nobinger for your top 10, like Carl was saying. So a lot of drivers still having a good run there. Your top silver driver is
as he is running right behind this little battle between Garcia and Roderick. Roderick looks like he may have either made the pass, but no, kind of same situation. The inside line gets a good run through the corner, but coming out of the corner, the outside line is prevailing. Little battle right in front of him between Jack Stoneman and Shayne Therrien as well for 3rd place. Now Bramble not too far behind as well, having a lot better race this time as he is the 2nd running silver driver behind Van Westen. Tater Bowman is the highest we've seen him so far, up there into the top 10. Jon Nobinger is one of the cars that may benefit a little bit to get into the pits, and I talked about him just a little bit too quickly. Bramble sliding out there. No caution going to come out. Looks like he kept it off the wall, kept it clean, so not out of it just yet, but that's not exactly what he wanted to see. So that's going to move Robert Kenny now up into the top 10. They're all chasing the number 5 of Alan Elwood, and I think it's about time we listen to how these cars sound around this flat track, this Martinsville on steroids, whatever you want to call it, New Hampshire Speedway. Either way, it's the Magic Mile, and this is, love to hear it.
Love to hear it.
Sights and sounds here of the Xfinity series presented by Elwood Designs as we're starting to get close to the end of this thing. We are down under 20 laps to go, actually down to 15 laps to go at this point. Elwood still leads the way, but as we get deeper into this run, the 70s starting to come alive again. Scioly reeling in the number 5 and looking to grab a win here in the playoffs. Both these drivers obviously raced last week. Can lock themselves into the playoffs or to the championship race with a win if they show up to one more race. Again, we did see Clayton Montgomery get out there, and pretty sure he turned a lap, so he's going to keep that the win in alive in the Platinum division. But who's going to come home the winner tonight? You got the man in third, Jack Stolman, just missing out on the playoffs, so maybe he's got a little bit of an axe to grind here, and the Gold Division driver looking to spoil the party here up front as he is running a great race here in third. Shayne Therrien, your pole sitter here tonight, having a good run, having a good race, comes in below the bubble here in the Platinum division, needs a good finish. Unfortunately, he's looking up at Elwood and Scioly, kind of dictating this race right now, probably hoping that they mix it up here a little bit and maybe give him a chance here at the win. AJ Roderick got his timely caution and got in there and got the pit stop done. Not sure if there was a penalty involved or not. Certainly a long pit stop going back further in the field than I'm sure he wanted to be. He's found his way now up into the top 5, looking to get this thing done. Kevin Foster making a late pit stop here, maybe not going to be able to make it to the end, so he's going to have to pull into pits. So this could certainly hurt the chances here. The Gold driver division playoff driver here coming into the pits late. See if anybody else has to make their pit stops. But we got a battle for the lead here, Jimmy. It's getting late. We're coming down to 10 laps to go this time by Elwood, Scioly, and oh, by the way, Stolman, Therrien, all right there within a second as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Scioly right there can get that win and get in, and obviously you're gonna have to battle Al and Elwood there as the two drivers have battled each other quite often, and I think Scioly may be buying his time just a little bit. But obviously now below the 10 laps to go, looking maybe to get around here, closing the in, putting a little pressure, trying to burn it up here and finish this thing out. Maybe you're just waiting for that needle to say I'm good to go for the rest of this way under green. But things will change if a caution came out, obviously with laps going down. But everybody kind of spread out just a little bit. Just a few battles and around. Obviously up front here is the one important here. But Scioly going down deep.
Yeah, diving way down there in turn number 1, and you see Elwood comes down from the top line to kind of take away his opportunity to drift out a little bit. But Scioly definitely putting the pressure on right now, and you hear the riding on board here, how long it takes him just kind of feathering the throttle through the middle of the corner. And finally, as you see the front stretch, that's when he can finally jump on that loud pedal and get it back up to full throw. But it is so difficult, and just you want to work on patience. This is the track to do it. I mean, you need a ton of patience here at New Hampshire, and even when you feel like you have that car underneath you, we've seen Elwood a couple times get that back end a little loose. We've seen that just about everybody kind of get a little back end loose there as they're working their way around the lap car here of Phelps up top. We'll see if he holds either of these guys up at all. Not going to happen. These guys are going to battle. No, actually, Phelps still right there, and now Scioly is going to make the pass, so that helped out Alan Elwood here a little bit, get him a little bit of breathing room. And this top 5 is starting to get real busy real quick. Battle for 4th place here. Therrien has it. AJ Roderick right there as well. They work their way around Dan Phelps down into turn number 3. The top 5 right now separated by about a second and a half. Anybody's race here at the line right now. We got 6 laps to go.
Yeah, you see AJ utilizing that extreme low line. Like that's just so much patience to going that far low. He run on with Scioly and he went down that far, and it sounded like the car was going to die. It was so low at RPM, so definitely a very tight corner, but able to make it work. But I think just kind of putting a little pressure right there on Alan Elwood. He's trying to be careful. Obviously, teammates, they're not trying to take each other out as this race is coming down to the end. A lot of we're all teammates up front there, with the exception of Stoneman. So, kind of in the middle of this the battle between a lot of these drivers, and obviously Alan Elwood being the sponsor and trying to secure his spot here now and instead of later. But I think Scioly looking to spoil out here tonight.
Diving it down into turn number 3 is AJ Roderick. But you see Therrien trying to get a run up off the corner again. He takes away the exit for the 56. Heck of a battle here as we've got 4 laps to go here at New Hampshire. It's been a good one here. We've got a lot of green flag racing. Didn't get a green flag pit stop. For a lot of people we did, but for the top 5, top 6. The leader at the time was AJ Roderick. He benefited greatly from a caution. He got in there, and now he is up to 4th place as he finally makes the pass there on the 09 of Shayne Therrien to bump him back to 5th. At the front, it is still Alan Elwood in the lead. 3 laps to go. Scioly is all over the back bumper, trying to figure out a way. We'll see if he uses the chrome bumper at some point to move him out there a little bit, but it's been a heck of a good race. I want to thank our series sponsor here for the series, as Jimmy mentioned. As we get really close here, going back to the line, but our series sponsor here, Elwood Designs, have been making custom liveries for the iRacing community since 2012. Specializing in the NASCAR class of vehicles, they can offer designs on various other options within the service. If you're looking to make your own livery but don't have the time to make your own base design, you can purchase Elwood Design bases at simratmarket.com. You can find Elwood Designs online on Facebook or X. You can find Alan Elwood right now battling James Scioly right here for the lead, trying to get the crossover, and now maybe going to get some help off the corner, coming to the line. White flag in the air. A little bit of a pick move here from Elwood as Crockett not trying to get in the way and gets up into the wall. Now a little bit of a chrome bumper there to the back of the 5. Scioly back to the inside, side by side off the corner. A little bumping, little rubbing. Teammates out the window at this point. It's white flag, win and end situation. Scioly dives it in there. Is Elwood going to get the rotation to get up off the corner on the bottom? He is not going to get enough. James Scioly gets it done here at New Hampshire. Your winner of this 70. Heck of a battle. Last lap pass. Jimmy, it's how you like to see it. I mean, Elwood did a heck of a job trying to use a 10 there as a pick, and it worked beautifully, but Scioly just too much at the end.
Definitely an interesting finish to the race as Scioly was able to bring that car pretty much all the way from the back to the front. 21 spots gained. A big mover there for Scioly. He was fast all race, obviously, in order to make your way through the field. Got involved in an incident early and gonna bring it away a win here tonight. So securing his way into the finale here with a win. Alan Elwood coming in second, so close, being able to get that 5, having a really good finish here tonight, so it's going to help with the points as far as Alan's goes. But Jack Stone getting in that P number 3, so great finish there by another 25, fighting his way and keeping it up front. AJ Roderick using the caution to his advantage. We joke around with AJ a lot about it, but AJ's a good driver. He just doesn't care for pit stops on the green, and we kind of pick on him a little bit about it. But great finish here.
Does anybody really?
So obviously great finish there by AJ Roderick. Shayne Therrien coming in 5th. Van Westen, your top silver driver, they're finishing in 6th, and with John Nobinger having a good race here tonight as well, in 7th. So a lot of drivers, I think, from last week are showing, obviously a better performance this week. Taylor Bowman wasn't out he was out last week, and now gets a top 10 in the 9th spot. Robert Gainey in the 034 gets a good finish there in the top 10. Tyler Bramble is able to recuperate and finish in 11th after that near miss for the wall. Jeff Ryan with a decent run there in P number 12. Joe Sullivan, respectable run in P13. Matt Crockett will finish out in 14th. JP Phillips, after getting involved, is going to end up finishing in 15th. Joey Cruz, Kevin Foster, Tyler Scoczen for your top 18. And then you have Jon Crain, Joseph Thomas, Bronson Stafford, Dan Phelps, Louis Arduna, Jeremy Gainey, Clayton Montgomery was able to get out there and get a few laps in, and Tony Bramble wrapping it up. I think Tony just came out to do some practice, and because it's been a long time since we'd seen Tony out there, but it's good to see Tony coming out and giving it a whirl. I don't blame you, Tony. Like I said, I don't like short tracks either, but it's good to see everybody giving it a try and doing the best they can. And if it means you don't feel comfortable and you need to sit and you feel that's what's best, sometimes that's what you do. But obviously, because it is playoffs, they're playoffs right now, and I'm sure that's what's going through a lot of people's mind when they're having troubles, is you don't want to ruin anybody's playoffs. Well, racing's racing and stuff happens in real life, so you just got to do your best. And obviously it was a lot cleaner this race than last week, so won't be much to review. I'm sure there'll be a few things to talk about later on in the admin booth, but right now getting ready to interview these top three and see how the race was.
Yeah, we got Kevin Foster still burning it down on the track out there, and do want to give a shout out to the fan favorite there, the number 8 Kevin Foster, as he didn't really have that great of a race finishing back there in 17th, but again, it's you race who you need to race, and finishing second amongst all the Gold Division drivers. I mean, AJ Roderick obviously finishing in 4th. We have to talk to him here in a little bit as well, but Kevin Foster finishing second in all the Gold drivers, so certainly can help out with the points. Let's go ahead and start our interviews here tonight. We'll go ahead and start with our 3rd place finisher, and that is going to be the number 25 of Jack Stoneman. We bring in Jack right now. Jack, you had a heck of a good race out there. I know it probably still stings that you're not up there mixing it up for a playoff spot and you know, trying to get yourself into the championship race, but you're still out there plugging away. And I mean, did New Hampshire just kind of fit you here tonight? Did you just kind of really feel comfortable out there? Because you got up here with these platinum guys and you made them work.
Honestly, I don't know what I did to be fast here. I just ran an open race here maybe about a week or two ago in the Xfinity cars, and that was pretty much my practice for this race. But obviously, granted, that's an open setup, and this is a fixed setup where the car is really tight. But, you know, you kind of fight through it and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know what kicked in me to go faster this past 2 weeks. I guess just after finding out I wasn't in the playoffs, it just gave me some motivation to kick some ass and just try to get something out of this season. But honestly, I was very happy with how this race turned out. I had an absolute blast fighting there with AJ at the end and having Shayne pressuring me, trying to catch up to Alan and James. I was trying to save my tires for the end of the race, thinking maybe a caution would come out, but unfortunately it just never happened. So eventually I just knew I just had to go for it. So really happy with how this race turned out. Finally, I can get an actual decent finish after my heartbreak from Indy. So
absolutely,
it's all good here.
Yeah, I mean, you finish less than 1 second off the win, so it's a heck of a run out here. And I mean, you're still out there battling. You still have a chance maybe to mix it up and get in there for the overall points at the end of the season. So not necessarily out of that quite yet, but I mean, what was different about the track here tonight? I mean, typically we come here to New Hampshire, we see, the middle line, maybe even the middle top line kind of really come in and really be the dominant line. But tonight, I mean, you guys were down there damn near getting pit road entry penalties. You were down there so far in the apron for some of these guys.
What's really interesting with this track, and I agree with you, is usually you want to run the middle lane, but I feel like New Hampshire is starting to become more of a momentum track in a way. It's very hard to explain. I've only experienced this in the Xfinity car. I've never felt this in the trucks, and I've never felt this in the next gen. I don't know what iRacing did to this car, but for some reason, when we go to New Hampshire, you got to just get a good run off of your exit. I don't care how bad your entry is. I don't care if you overdrive your entry. As long as you can dive it down to the inside and get a really good exit, that's all it takes to be good here. And that also really helps out a lot for my driving style, because when you can take it easy going into entry, it's a lot easier to save tires. So that's usually the biggest reason why people are wearing tires so quickly, is because they're burning up their right front, setting it going to turn one, when really you just need to just relax, run that high line for a little bit. It'll be faster for you in the long run.
Yeah, we definitely seen some guys pulling some asphalt sliders and some crossovers to make some passes here tonight. So it was a good one from the booth for sure, and I'm sure it was just as fun out there in the track. And you get yourself a podium, so it's got to feel damn good at the coming towards the end of the season here. Only a few races left, and you're still up there getting an interview at the end of the night.
No, I know. I'm very grateful. Finally can be back in the booth. I definitely miss my boy Jimmy over here, cutie patootie. My boy Carl, always treating me well and whatnot, giving me all the penalties needed. But no,
you earned them.
But no, overall... Oh my goodness, I love you too. You know that.
All right, buddy. Well, want to send one more thanks and congratulations to you out there. Heck of a run up there, and again, making these gold and platinum drivers work for
Carl
it at
just
the end
sent
of
me
the
a message,
season.
said something about the 25 is now open for the rest of the season.
Just put a pin in that, Jimmy. Put a pin in that one. But while you still have the 25, want to give you some time to give any shout outs or thanks that you may have.
Well, first of all, thank you both, you guys, Carl and Jimmy, for always doing some great broadcasting over here. It's always fun to watch the replays, see you guys getting all excited for all of us. All the admins here in the Core Racing League, dealing with everybody here and just making sure we're all having fun. Also, just all the drivers here in this Core Racing League. Sometimes it gets heated. Sometimes we got our ups and downs, but regardless, I'm always grateful to be racing with all these guys up in the front and having a good time. I got to give a huge shout out to my teammates, Tyler and Joey. I didn't even see where they finished. I don't think they finished too well, but they always treat me well. They always support me. We're all one big family at the end of the day. And as always, I also got to give a huge shout out to my dad, biggest supporter in my life right now. He recently just helped support me to get a go-kart, so I'm having a lot of fun out there doing some real-life racing for once and actually touching some grass. So yeah, it's all good there,
All right, buddy. Well, looks like the real life experience is helping you out here on the track as well, getting up here and getting yourself a podium. So once again, congrats on the run here tonight. We'll see you next week at Charlotte.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
That is your third place finisher here tonight, the 25 of Jack Stoneman. Second place is going to be maybe a little bit heartbroken, but a heck of a run here for the 5 of Alan Elwood.
Hey, Alan, Jimmy, and Carl, in the booth, copy.
Yeah, I got you guys.
Yeah, I can already hear it in your voice that obviously the late pass there by James taking away the win here tonight's a little on the downer side, but in the positive side, obviously a lot better results from last week. So still keeping you in that playoff picture here for the end of the season. Obviously, it was a pretty tough race. Obviously, early, I think just people getting the car underneath them. I've seen traffic was a little bit better tonight for everybody. So just kind of give us a little rundown of your race and then those final moments when James finally took the lead.
There toward the end, I tried to do whatever I could to try to save enough fuel. I barely had enough. I think I was running out at the line. So just trying to stay up front and get that clean air and also manage your fuel's pretty tough. Trying to clutch it, do whatever I got to do. But yeah, just not really much more of a gut punch that you can get than doing everything right, you feel like, and then just lose it on the last lap. So yeah, it's cool. I'm in, the playoff picture and everything, but it's been a little while, I don't want to sound egotistical or anything, but it has been a little while since I've won a race, and it's starting to kind of get to me a little bit. Not winning this one tonight really hurts.
Yeah,
my teammate, but it still sucks.
Yeah, you're obviously you're one of the top-notch guys, and I think a lot of guys are focused and like trying to obviously especially the drivers that drive around you each and every week. They're just we want to beat Alan and we want to beat him fair and square and then try to get it done. And you got the bar set really high, Alan. You really do. And that a lot of drivers are chasing you around, and it's good to see that everybody's given the opportunity and trying to race you clean and doing the best they can. And if they get that move, obviously you're humble enough not to turn left, and around goes Scioly. So, but great battle to the end. It was fun to watch up here in the booth. Maybe a little gut punch there at the end, but like I said, it was overall a lot better finish than last week. Keeps you in that playoff picture for the end of the season, and looking forward. Obviously, good. Glad that we got a chance to talk to you this week. So, I guess before we let you go and get out of here and celebrate your P number 2, we'll give you some time for any shots you may have in a number 5.
Yeah, first off, team and the performance tonight. I had really fun battling Niiko and Shayne there early in the race, and then James there at the end. James is, I would argue, has the most talent in the field. He starts in the back, I think, to make it more of a challenge on himself. Otherwise, I think he'd run away with a lot of these races. But that's, we're happy to have him on the team. He's a class act, and the way him and I race tonight just goes to show that. So hats off to him and getting that one. But hats off to the team tonight. AJ had a good run. Just everybody out there on track tonight. Of course, everybody with Roderick Racing Development, VRS, Simrat Market, all of our partners that make this team stuff happen for us. And of course, you guys here in the booth putting on the show for everybody watching. Appreciate you guys as always. And everybody out there tonight, I think it was a really good race and good product to watch. So proud of everybody tonight for putting on a good show.
Yeah, those obviously weeks are come and go sometimes as is real life racing. So, but yeah, great show tonight. A great show tonight, and definitely was fun one to watch. And obviously, like you said, for yourself was a heartbreak. It was very exciting up here in the booth watching at the last moment pass there and seeing how whether it was you were going to let him by and take low line or whatever, go back and forth. It was really interesting up here. So we appreciate the show and appreciate you with a great finish here, obviously. So again, congratulations on the second place finish, and we'll let you go celebrate with your family.
I appreciate the kind words, Jimmy. We'll see you guys later.
Yes, sir.
That is your second place finisher here tonight, the 5 of Alan Elwood. Winner here tonight, going from back to front like he likes to do, is going to be the 70 of James Scioly. James, we see you starting in the back. Nothing new on that one. We see you get involved in an early wreck. Seems to be nothing new on that one as well. So I guess why don't we start right there and kind of what your initial thoughts were. I mean, right away you get involved in it. I mean, we rode on board with you there to kind of see the replay, and you just see nothing but clean air in front of you, and then all of a sudden a car straight across your nose.
Yeah, I saw a couple guys getting loose up there, and so I ran way down. I was running like the first lane on exit, just not really trying to go anywhere, just trying to let everything situate out again. And I only got one monitor, so you can only see about half the windshield, and then it's just driving straight, and all of a sudden I was looking at the inside wall. So I was hoping that I wasn't going to have to use my fast repair, but it was like 5.5 minutes of damage. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get all that fixed, so had to come down and use the fast repair, and then was really contemplating there on lap 10 coming down and pitting because I knew that was going to make the fuel pretty close to make it to the end without saving, but I just saw how many people pitted, so opted to take the track position. I think that moved me from the mid-20s up to like 11th, and from there it was honestly just kind of trying to save tires, but also just make my way up as fast as possible. I was able to get to second and pretty close to Allen at the pit stop, and then the yellow came out, which honestly saved me because I was like 5 laps short. So that last yellow coming out really saved us for sure. And then just trying to save fuel behind Allen. I still ran out at the line on the last lap, so wasn't really able to shift and run the line that I wanted to any of that last run. Just had to run 4th gear and kind of in his tire tracks trying to save. And luckily we were able to have a nice clean battle to the end, a nice natural battle too after a full fuel run. Yeah,
and I mean, I'm maybe we're at the point where we need to talk to iRacing and see if they can put the Phoenix the Phoenix model on this thing and just get rid of all the grass, because you guys were damn near running in the grass. You were so low all the way off these corners. I mean, this is the lowest I think I've ever seen any kind of doesn't matter what cars are. It doesn't matter if it's MX-5s out here. I don't think I've ever seen anybody just using the apron like you guys were here tonight.
Yeah, they definitely need to move that inside wall out of turn 2. I'd like to get a little bit lower, get a straighter shot there. It's got some speed, so if they could just get rid of that one, I think that'd be pretty good.
They need to move it just
other
for the
ones
pit
are
entry.
fine.
I mean, the pit exit. They just need to move it.
It's a bicycle.
Yeah, you could move. You can move the pit entry wall to the end of it. That way, I could dive a little bit harder into turn 1. But yeah, definitely, it's pretty fun here. You can run quite a few different lines. You know, you see people up the track, down. You can enter on the apron. You can enter high, exit on the apron, exit on the first seam. I mean, there's just so many different lines, which made it super fun battling Alan there at the end. Just had options and was able to go different places, and yeah, just really kind of maneuver around.
So you get the win and in. Obviously, you still need to run one more race here in the playoff round. But if you do, you're locked into the championship round. I guess that's kind of the next question. You know, how does it feel to finally know that you're locked in? I know you try and give yourself a challenge, pretty much weekly, starting from the back, but now you know you're at least locked into the big race at the end.
Yeah, it feels good, especially spending all these fast repairs early on. I don't have to worry about that anymore, luckily. So we can they can wreck me as much as they want on lap 1. It's all good. I'm here for it. So I can kind of be the punching bag. If anybody needs to get their frustrations out, go ahead. Just find that purple 70 car out there.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, no matter what, we can just put on the most exciting. It's going to show you whether it's you passing 16 cars or whether it's you getting destroyed by 16 cars. Either way, well, you get yourself another win here on the season. So a heck of a run here tonight. Heck of a last lap pass. It was not easy for sure, especially between you and Alan there. I mean, two of the top guys here in the series clearly, and it was not going to be easy passing, but you get it done on the last lap. Congrats on the win. Who do you want to give a shout out to or thanks to?
Yeah, thank you guys. First, a huge shout out to you guys for broadcasting and capturing these battles and these awesome finishes. Really appreciate it. Shout out to the admin team. Luckily, only a couple yellows tonight, so hopefully not too much work for them. And then huge shout out to Elwood Designs Esports and all the teammates. Obviously, an awesome clean battle with Alan as always. So huge shout out to him. AJ in 4th, Niiko in 8th, all of us in the top 10. So really good run from all of us today. Really fun battling. Was watching Alan and Shayne battle up there too. So yeah. Good times there. And then thanks to Roderick Racing Development, Simrat Market for being on the car. And hopefully we're talking to you guys again after a good one next week.
Absolutely, buddy. We'll see you next week at Charlotte. See if you can go back to back and really keep this momentum going.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That is your winner here tonight, the 7 of James Scioly. We got one more interview that we're going to get to here. Top running gold driver and the man that benefited the most from yet another perfectly timed yellow. Jimmy, we got the 56 of AJ Roderick up here in 4th.
Hey, Mr. Caution. This is Jimmy Carl up in the booth. Copy.
Oh, yeah.
It was perfect time. We kind of tease a little bit about you on the air about AJ just needs a caution. And sure enough, it come out tonight. So definitely perfect timing as you extended that green flag run as much as possible and being able to take huge benefits here tonight. But either way, I mean, you had this very unique line tonight running. I think SDK told me you were entering the pits probably a total like 65 times. Yeah, so it was definitely.
I was just trying to trick you guys to make you think I was doing green flag pit stops.
He's like
practicing green flag pit stops while not. Yeah, I got you.
Practicing his green flag pit stops at full speed. But yeah, no. So threw us off just a little bit, but he got up to hang down there, and I have to say, I was out there testing just a little bit for setting up cameras and stuff, and trying to get down there low. It just seemed like the car just seemed dead towards the middle, and I couldn't. It just felt weird to me to be down that low, and so I was like, I don't think that would be the line, and I moved it up, but watching you guys run that here tonight, and it worked. Obviously, but obviously, if you had somebody on the outside, it seemed to slow you down just a little bit. You can get that great dive in, but if that person on the outside just held tight and just held their line, and the inside guy kind of had to stay low, wasn't able to get on the power to kind of slide out, so it would slow you up a little bit. But did a fantastic job, man. You got yourself a top finish here tonight, and obviously come up here and talk to us a little bit. But I'll give you a little time for any have to let us know how your race was and what you're looking forward to the rest of the season here as we're in the playoffs.
I mean, I think I had just about the perfect race. Realistically, having that caution come out as I was literally about to enter the pits, like I was on the brakes, getting ready to downshift into the pits, and that caution came out. I mean, it couldn't have been any more perfect. And I remember I asked James when we had that second caution, I said, if I pit now, I said, can we make it on one more stop? And he goes, I think so. So I think even if it would have went green, I think we would have been pretty well off, because we would have been, I mean, I had like 3 laps on everybody, I think, at that point, where they had already pitted, and it didn't seem like the tire fall off was enough at that point to really hurt me. So it was going to be interesting if it would have went green. I think kind of the results would have been close to the same. I don't know what I figured out in the one run, running the apron the way that I did, but holy crap, was it fast. I mean, it started working, and kind of listen to the guys chatter, in that last run there when they were talking about fuel. I was like, I'm just going to sit here and wait and kind of see what their fuel situation is, if they were going to be able to save enough. And I decided with 10 to go, I'm like, I'm going to start running my crazy line, and it worked. Maybe a few laps too late to get that top 3, but it was a really good night. Now's with the playoffs right now. Now's the time to execute, and we've had 2 really good weeks for points. So definitely beneficial. Charlotte's going to be interesting next week, because I'm terrible there because I can never save tire.
Yeah, definitely. Charlotte can be a fun one, and you have a tendency, I think, because we rerun it so much and it's ingrained in our brain so early on when you join iRacing, that you just drive the piss out of it. And
I think it's one of the tracks that I have the least amount of time on at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of. I don't do ovals anymore, and I probably more of my laps are over on Charlotte. So
I think all my laps are in the mini stocks, just flat out around Charlotte. So it probably doesn't teach me too much. But now it's just going to come down to the next couple of weeks here of just making sure we have good finishes for the next 2 weeks, so that way our drop, our drop's not huge, right? So. A couple of the guys in the point situation, they had some pretty rough weeks the last couple of weeks here. So obviously they've got 1 drop, but anything I can do to make sure I can at least points my way into the final round of playoffs here. That's what I'm all about.
Yeah, final. Obviously the end goal, the big results. And now's the time to make sure you're on your A game, and if you had a slump in the middle, was the time to have it. And but right now you're not in that slump. With some good finishes here, definitely a P4 here is no shame at all. Obviously with the drive, especially overall with a lot of these drivers that were in front of you here tonight. But so we wanted to bring you up here and say congratulations, and just give you a little time for any shouts you may have in at number 56.
Definitely need to shout out Alan Elwood and Elwood Designs for making this paint that he's got for me, because I'm a firm believer that there's good paints and there's bad paints, and it's not how it looks, it's about how it drives. And we had such a good year with the greatest clips of all time car, and so I was kind of nervous about this new paint scheme, and it just came out awesome, and we're getting good results. So it's got the good juju to it, and obviously, so thank you to Alan for making that for me, and Simrat Market, our main sponsor, VRS, and all the teammates, James and Shayne and all those guys. They were a big help tonight, just kind of listening in so I could beat off them and get a good finish.
It won't be much longer. They'll be chasing you around the track. But again, we want to say congratulations on that great finish, and thanks for the shout outs, and we'll let you go celebrate with your friends and family.
Thank you guys for broadcasting. Always appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
That is your 4th place finisher here tonight. Top finishing Gold Division driver, the 56 of Alan Elwood. One more thing to note is that we did get word that when it comes to the overall standings for the season, is now deadlocked and tied. Alan Elwood and Clayton Montgomery tied for the overall season points. So it's not just playoffs that are on the lines here. It is the overall points for each division as well. So everything is starting to tighten up here at the end of the season, just the way we like it. Great run here tonight from everybody in attendance. Want to thank everyone out there again in CRN Nation. If you haven't done so yet, hit that like and subscribe and get you in touch with everything that we have to offer. But for myself and Jimmy from the Magic Mile, we'll see you at the track.
Peace.